Science fiction has always been a prominent theme for different mediums of entertainment, which obviously includes video games as well. From Star Wars to Mass Effect and much more, there have been no shortage of sci-fi shooters that have won the hearts of countless fans across the globe. Of course, there are a ton of promising sci-fi shooters looming over the horizon, and we'll be discussing 15 of the best games that fit this bracket and are set to release in 2023 and beyond. Starfield. Set in the far reaches of space, Starfield looks set to take the Bethesda RPG formula into an entirely new direction, and it looks nothing short of breathtaking. You get to explore over 100 different planets, brimming with quests to track and people to meet. And the choices that you make during these quests will ultimately dictate the outcome of this adventure. Between a solid gameplay loop with impressive NASA punk designs, Starfield is looking to be worth all the hype and anticipation. It releases for PC and Xbox Series on September 8th, 2023. The Invincible. The Invincible is an upcoming sci-fi shooter that's based on Stanislaw Lem's writings, and it puts players in the shoes of an astronaut by the name of Yasna, who crash lands on the planet of Regis 3 with little memory of her past. The gameplay revolves around exploring the alien planet and solving its many mysteries, while remaining hidden from any hostiles that roam these lands. The retro-futuristic art style looks fantastic, and it's all brought to life thanks to the power of Unreal Engine 5. It releases for PC, PS5, and Xbox Series sometime this year. Luna Abyss. Bonsai Collective is hard at work on Luna Abyss, which transports players to the mystic planet of Luna, with the singular goal of trying to escape from this hellhole. The gameplay looks heavily inspired by recent shooters, which means that you'll be trudging your way through large arenas filled with different kinds of enemies and bosses in your quest for salvation. Of course, there's also platforming segments and exploration to keep things varied and interesting. And it definitely looks impressive from a graphical standpoint as well. It releases for PC, PS4, PS5, Xbox One, and Xbox Series. Cyberpunk 2077: Phantom Liberty. Despite plenty of merits, the Cyberpunk 2077 that fans got was far from the product that CD Projekt Red had originally promised, and the developer aims to right those wrongs with Phantom Liberty, an upcoming expansion that will take players to an entirely new part of Night City as they partake in a spy thriller potentially brimming with all sorts of twists and turns. Phantom Liberty is also set to bring a ton of improvements to the gameplay, including but not limited to vehicular combat, updated progression systems, and better police response times. It all sounds really exciting, and we'll be checking out Phantom Liberty when it releases for PC, PS5, and Xbox Series on September 25th, 2023. Armored Core 6. Armored Core 6 will thrust players into a boiling conflict between mega corporations as everyone desperately tries to gain control of a new power source, and players assume the role of a ground soldier trying to turn this war in their favor. The gameplay is king, of course, when it comes to Armored Core 6, and it looks absolutely slick with smooth animations and a fast-paced combat loop. Players can also expect a ton of customization options when it comes to building out their mechs, which sounds really exciting as well. Armored Core 6 is set to release for PC, PS4, PS5, Xbox One, and Xbox Series on August 25th, 2023. Outpost Infinity Siege. Currently in development at Team Ranger, Outpost Infinity Siege is a weird but beautiful mix of base building and first-person shooting. The game tasks you with building out your defenses and advancing deep into enemy territory in a sci-fi world, and while the story might be a little weak in its bones, the gameplay is definitely the star of the show. The action seamlessly transitions from RTS to FPS and vice versa, complete with all the chaos that one would expect from such a mishmash of genres, but it works surprisingly well. It releases for PC sometime in the near future. Beyond Good and Evil 2. Ubisoft's Beyond Good and Evil 2 holds the world record for having spent the longest amount of time in development, and the game is still far from reaching the finish line, but because the developer has promised that Beyond Good and Evil 2 is being actively developed, we are taking the liberty to put it on this list. Early showings of the game depicted players exploring large planets, brimming with life, and a combat system where you use a plethora of skills to take down enemies. It all looked really good, but it's also pretty likely that a lot of what we saw might might have changed during development. As it stands, Beyond Good and Evil 2 is slated to release for PC and consoles at some point in the near future. The next Mass Effect. BioWare's Mass Effect trilogy is home to some of the best sci-fi shooters of the last couple of generations, but the franchise has been put on hold for more than 6 years at this point. Thankfully, a new game is currently in development, and while details on the project remain scant for now, we do know that this new game will be built on Unreal Engine 5, which should make for a smoother development process without compromising on the visuals. Mass Effect 4, or whatever it ends up being called, releases for undisclosed platforms sometime in the near future. The First Descendant. Nexon Games' upcoming The First Descendant puts players in the shoes of the Descendants, who are super powerful beings sent on a mission to drive the invaders away from their homeland of Ingress Continent. This free-to-play third-person shooter is heavily inspired by games like Warframe and Anthem, but it does a good job of taking those mechanics and crafting a fast-paced gameplay loop, which looks really cool. Missions can also be tackled either solo or co-op, and the game will also receive regular content updates thanks to its live service model. The First Descendant releases for PC, PS4, PS5, Xbox One, and Xbox Series. Synced. Set in a world overrun by nanotechnology, Synced tasks players to lead the charge against the rogue machines that continue to pose an impending threat to mankind. The gameplay revolves around fending off waves of enemies while using different kinds of friendly nanobots to fight alongside you, which makes for an interesting and highly dynamic combat loop. In addition to the PvE content, Synced also features PvP content that can be enjoyed with friends. It's free to play, and it releases for PC and consoles sometime in the summer of 2023. Arc Raiders. Arc Raiders describes itself as a free-to-play PvPvE extraction shooter where players assume the role of raiders, sent on missions to obtain precious supplies needed for the survival of the human race. You see, an alien threat by the name of Arc continues to be a mortal threat to our species, and it's up to you to face these mechanical monstrosities in a wide variety of sci-fi locales for the survival of humanity. The art direction is fantastic, and the gameplay looks pretty solid as well. Arc Raiders will release for PC, PS5, and Xbox Series sometime in the near future. Fort Solis. Dear Villagers' upcoming Fort Solis is all about uncovering the reality behind a mysterious distress signal from a space station on Mars, and players will have to trudge through plenty of claustrophobic corridors and face otherworldly threats as they try to get to the bottom of it all. Fort Solis might not be the most action-heavy game on this list, but the great atmosphere and potentially interesting narrative certainly make it worthy of being on any sci-fi fan's radar. It releases for PC and PS5 on August 22nd, 2023. Rip Out. Set in the dystopian future, Rip Out tells the story of our protagonist trying to save the human race from extinction by obtaining a key that somehow holds the secrets to banishing the aliens that have invaded Earth. The gameplay is equal parts action-adventure and survival horror, and you will be partaking in fierce battles against shape-shifting aliens as you slowly make your way through stations and facilities filled with jump scares and unsettling imagery. It's a pretty ambitious project, and we hope that developer Pet Project Games is able to capitalize on that. Rip Out releases for PC, PS5, and Xbox Series sometime this year. Marathon. Most fans might know Bungie for its work on Halo or Destiny, but few fans know that Marathon was the game that put this developer on the map. Of course, the franchise has been dormant for decades at this point, but that's going to change soon. Marathon is making a grand return, and we got to see a glimpse of this upcoming project last month. We know that it will be a PvP-based extraction shooter where emergent narratives will take precedence over a story set in stone, and it's also supposed to be a reboot with little to no narrative connections to past entries. It'll be released for consoles and PC sometime in the near future. Perfect Dark Reboot. Speaking of reboots of popular franchises lost to the times, we have the Perfect Dark reboot from developer Crystal Dynamics. Much like Marathon that we discussed before, little is known about the project at this point in time, but the developer has stated that this entry will focus on fighting like a spy, complete with all the acrobatic moves and abilities that one would expect from such a gameplay loop. We're really excited to step into the shoes of Joanna once again, but it looks like there's a long wait ahead of us for that to happen. It releases for PC and Xbox Series sometime in the near future. That's all for now. If you enjoy what you saw, please hit the like button. And if you're new to the channel, now is a great time to subscribe. We upload brand new videos every single day. After subscribing, don't forget to enable all notifications by clicking the bell icon. Thanks for watching this video, and we'll see you next time, right here on GamingBolt.